Ukraine war, national security and prevent his 5-year-old daughter among those that lost their lives.
The war in Ukraine is one of the most complex and polarizing issues of our time. Even as a geopolitics enthusiast, following events closely, I have to admit that understanding this conflict is no easy task. I'm sure many of you feel the same confusion. Today, let's try to explore the arguments from both sides. You'll see some are highly controversial and examine possible paths towards lasting peace in Europe. It's time to fill the gaps. Why do some believe Russia's war is legitimate? Does Russia see an existential threat? Since the end of the Cold War, NATO has expanded its world, integrating countries that were once part of the Soviet bloc. Moscow sees this expansion as a direct threat to its security. The idea of Ukraine joining NATO, first raised in 2008, was particularly sensitive. For Russia, this meant Western military forces moving closer to its borders, an unacceptable scenario. Didn't the US threaten nuclear war in 1962? During the Cuban Missile Crisis, the US threatened war when the Soviets tried to place missiles in Cuba. The crisis ended with the Soviet withdrawal from Cuba and the dismantling of US nuclear missiles in Turkey. Russia often draws parallels with this today. Since 2014, Ukraine's Donbas region has been a battleground between the Ukrainian army and pro-Russian separatists. Moscow claims its intervention is to protect Russian-speaking communities, whom it sees as victims of discrimination, particularly in education policies imposed by Kiev. Russia views Ukraine's pro-Western revolution, especially in 2014, as movements supported or even orchestrated by the US and the EU to weaken its influence. From this perspective, its military intervention is a defensive reaction against foreign interference in its traditional sphere of influence. What would a lasting peace look like from this perspective? Ukrainian neutrality. Ensuring Ukraine does not join NATO or other Western military alliances. Territorial recognition. Russia demands recognition of Crimea's annexation and considers the Donbas region as part of its territory following the disputed 2022 referendums. New security framework, establishing a European security system that takes Russia's concerns about NATO's expansion into account. Now, why does the West see this war as illegitimate? A clear violation of international law? Did Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022 is seen as a breach of Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity, key principles of international law. The annexation of Crimea in 2014 had already triggered global condemnation. These actions are viewed as attempts to redraw borders by force, reminiscent of World War II. Doesn't Ukraine have the right to choose its own future? As a sovereign nation, Ukraine has the right to decide its alliances and political direction. The claim that Ukraine's NATO ambitions provoke Russia is disputed. Some argue that if Ukraine had been accepted into NATO in 2008, as proposed by US President George W. Bush, Russia might have been deterred from attacking, given NATO's collective defense clause under Article 5. A threat to European stability? Russia's aggression is seen as a major risk for Europe's security. If Russia succeeds in Ukraine, some fear it may target other countries, like the Baltic states or Poland. A broader conflict involving EU members could threaten the entire European structure, which includes a mutual defense clause requiring member states to assist if one is attacked. What would a lasting peace look like from this perspective? Withdrawal of Russian forces, restoring Ukraine's internationally recognized borders, security guarantees, providing Ukraine with military and political protection, possibly through fast-track NATO and EU membership, though the new US administration has firmly opposed this. Reparations, requiring Russia to compensate for war damages and prosecuting Putin at an international tribunal. Is there a third way out of this deadlock? Some suggest an armed neutrality model for Ukraine, similar to Finland during the Cold War. Others propose a European collective security system involving a multinational protection force, potentially including BRICS nations. Russia might hesitate to attack such a force for fear of alienating strategic partners. But is this realistic? Can there be a compromise that isn't seen as a defeat by either side? What do you think? Can an intermediate solution be found, or will the war only end with one side's total victory? Let me know in the comments.